Take a deep in breath together and let it go. One more time. Bring your attention to the feel of the moment as it is arising. The feel of the moment as it is arising. With each in-breath, the belly expands, and with each out-breath, the belly lowers. And you can start to notice the moment itself experienced in the body as felt sense. With each in-breath, invite the moment within your heart, within your belly, within your limbs, into every cell. With each out breath, feel it spread. The energy of presence is spreading. Down your arms, into your fingertips, down your legs, into your toes. Begin to imagine that you are filling your body with this lit moment. The lit moment is entering and spreading presence all throughout your body. And if you're not able to imagine that, just pretend that you are. Just pretend that the sensations you're feeling throughout your hands and feet, and the sensations you're feeling throughout your throat and neck and shoulders and legs and belly, they're all just the lit moment, spreading, nourishing the body. With light and such peaceful presence. Continue to expand the in-breath and the out-breath. And continue to increase the distance and the length between each in-breath and out-breath, so that you feel the in-breath begin at the feet even, and rise upwards through the legs, all the way up through the belly and the chest, and out of the head. each out breath, take your time to invite the light through the crown of the head into your body, throughout your chest and belly, hips, legs, and out of the feet. And then take your time to reach the arms overhead, wherever you are. Feel your fingertips on top of your head and bring them even closer to the skull, not touching the skull, but maybe just touching one another. And let that sensation be felt above your head. And you can separate the fingers slightly and bring them back together and begin to access and feel the area above your head. At first it might be really subtle, but eventually you'll notice there's all kinds of sensation in that space. And know that that space is the spiritual entry of spirit, the entry of spirit into the physical body. And invite the beauty and peace and kindness to just fully expand within your body. And at some point you might remove your hands and still be able to access that area. And bathe in it for a few moments while you might still bring attention to contact with the earth. Especially if the energy of spirit becomes so strong that it sometimes can be overwhelming to the lower vibrations that we carry in our bodies. If you start to feel overwhelmed, know that it's not that the lower vibrations in the body are intensifying. It's more that the light of awareness is intensifying, and it's allowing for clearing of any anxiety or fear or sense of contraction. Couple more breaths. And take your time now to start to move the body in any which way it wants to move. It might just feel like a desire to just be a total creature and just stretch like you're by yourself in the room and just kind of make sounds and yawns and any kind of motion that are organic, that are helpful for the release of energy and the movement of energy within the body. your time to find your way into a seated position as you roll over onto your side and come on up. And find your blocks and place them underneath you as props to lift you. And start to circle your shoulders around. If you sit down and you feel like your knees are much higher than your hips, then consider placing a higher block. Switching directions throughout. And then start to take your arms like swing, pretend that they are swings, and reach them upwards and back with the elbows, kind of scooping something back and forward to access the shoulders a bit more. And then at one point, allow your hands, your fingertips to go out behind your ears and expand your elbows sideways and squeeze the shoulder blades muscles together while you still lightly tuck the tailbone under and find this strength in the upper back. Breath in and breath out. Expand the arms sideways. Look side to side as you rotate your wrists around. Open up the palms and let the fingertips go downwards to stretch the areas that are not accessed in the palm and in the wrists. And then circle in the other direction and start to kind of make motions that might feel uncomfortable at first with the wrists. Continue with that. And then begin to find rotations through the shoulders and the arms so that you're internally rotating in your shoulders and then you're externally rotating forward and back. And at some point, shake the arms. And let the shaking happen in a way that feels good to the body. And then take your time to release yourself out of the seated position and make your way into a table pose. In this table pose, I'll invite you to find some more stretches throughout the wrists if you feel like they're needed. Maybe you shift back and forth a few times, taking the arms a bit further back, or you open up the wrists, the fingertips towards the side, and bend the elbows towards the sides and back in. Or the fingertips go backwards towards the knees. And then flip them, flip the palms. And find like a subtle curl. You might even shift your weight back a bit. Hips towards the heels. I have my toes curled under, but some of you may not like that feeling. It feels really good for my feet. It's stretching the feet. And then make your way into a variation of a regular table pose. So rather than having the wrists fully down on the ground, the palms fully down, tense your fingers and shift your hips slightly back. And then start to find the curl. And each time you curl, rock your tailbone side to side and explore the side body and the areas of the lower back. And as you inhale, open up the chest without placing any weight on your wrists, just tenting those fingers. Shake the head no and yes. Each time you curl, there's an opportunity to release the neck and the jaw muscles. Maybe a vigorous shaking that's subtle at the same time. And then take it into whichever kind of movements you wish. You might release the wrists back down, the palms back down. Take some either circular motions or rocking side to side. At one point, shift your hips over towards the right heel if it feels comfortable for you. Release your left elbow and then expand your right arm towards the left. So hips towards the right heel and arm expands towards the left. Maybe you tent the fingers and feel the side body stretch. Of course, you'll take a variation of this if it doesn't feel good on your hip. And then come back to center and take the left hip towards the left heel and release the right elbow. And notice my chest is still slightly lifted and the left hand is going towards the left. Come back to the center. Make fists underneath your shoulders and arch and curl a bunch of times. And then come back to neutral, either with fists under the shoulders or palms down. I like the fists, it protects my wrists a little. And we'll take a few lion breaths. As you inhale, breathe all of that energy into the body. And on the exhale, release it with a just extending the tongue as far out as it'll go. Again. Two more. And then release the jaw a little bit, shaking the head no. Feel your cheeks kind of shake a little bit. You can even make that funny sound. And take your time to find a side plank on the right side. It's a half plank. So the right bottom of the foot, of the bottom of the right leg will turn towards the back and the left leg will extend sideways, opening yourself up into a variation of a side plank. Again, some wrist circles if it feels good. And maybe some full rotation of that left arm. Again, I'm going to make a fist because it feels better on my wrists. You can consider that, or place a block under your right arm. And feel the entire expansiveness of energy flowing now through your body. And at some point, engage the pelvic floor a lot. Pull that navel in and up to come on up to center. And find a side bend. Reach the right arm all the way up. And come back to center. Maybe tenting the finger this time so that not so much weight is placed on the wrist. And then using the core center to rise again. These motions are so incredibly strengthening for the very, very small, deeper core muscles, especially if you use that root lock and use the belly lock. Bandhas, Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha. One more time. Good. As you return back to the center, reposition the leg, the right leg where it was. Release your right forearm to the ground and find some motions and circles and expansions throughout the left leg. Making a kickstand with your left hand. Maybe you stop at one point and circle the ankle around. Maybe you bend and extend the leg. Just find motions that feel releasing and relieving for the hip. You can even shake that leg in between rotations. And release. And take it to the other side. So the bottom half of the left leg will turn back. The right leg will extend to the side. The right arm expands upwards. A block might be used. Take care that these joints are still stacked. As you find some rotational motions throughout the shoulders, but also the wrists. And as you firm up the right foot in the ground, engage pelvic floor and rise. Find a side bend towards the right. And again, release, extending right arm up. Engage pelvic floor, engage the belly muscles, pulling them in and up. As you do this motion, also hug in to the inner thighs, zipping that inner core together. Two more times, active core. Beautiful. Slowly come back to the center, into your table pose. And we'll make our way into a downward facing dog. with the toes curled under and the hips expanded upwards. Maybe you lift each foot at a time and kind of, as you rock the hip towards the right, lift the left leg off the ground just to access some areas of the lower back. And then re-solidify your feet down and start to bend the knees. And at the same time, pull the hips back. Notice how that might create a bulging of the ribs down, a collapse. See if you can regain that neutrality of the spine as you roll the shoulders down the back. Feel the openness in the upper back, shoulder blades muscles kind of come apart a bit more. And then some elasticity in the legs, shifting back and forth. At one point, walk your feet forward to come into a forward fold. Blocks can come under the hands. Or you can lower yourself deeper by bending the knees and getting that belly to reach the thighs. You might need to bend the knees so much for that to happen. And this way the forearms or the elbows even can rest on top of those high blocks. Notice the benefit of this forward fold. It's really calming your mind. It's really having an energetic shift of blood flow to calm. If at some point the blocks become cumbersome, you can release them. And at one point, you might even start to expand your hips upwards, but not shifting your weight back. Rather, keep your weight drawn forward a bit as you lift your hips up slightly, a little bit at a time. One more in-breath. And let it go. Slowly bend your knees, draw your hips back like you're coming into a squat. Plant your hands on your thighs and press yourself up all the way to stand. Notice the effect of the forward fold. You might have a little bit of a head rush. Stabilize yourself back in the ground with your feet on the ground. And start to explore the feet on the ground. Lifting and separating the toes and kind of rocking between the ball of the big toe and the ball of the little toe. Imagine you have sand underneath your feet and start to kind of spread your toes within that imaginary sand. Crunching the toes and kind of lifting them and spreading them. Like the feet are getting acquainted with the earth. So beautiful, so meditative, and creates such ground and contact and firmness. Notice how the tendency is to have the tailbone kind of sticking back. Lengthen it down so that you regain the neutral spine again. And reaching your arms sideways once again. Taking that same motion that we did sitting down with the fingertips behind the ears. And squeeze those shoulder blades muscles towards one another without bulging out your rib cage. Feel the strength of that, strengthening your upper back. Bend the knees slightly so that you have some support. And then turn into a twist towards the right. Keeping those shoulder blades muscles squeezed. Come back to center. You might not have a big rotational range. That's okay. Turn it towards the left and go back and forth a few times. Feel the oblique muscles also working here. Take care you have a base, a strong base, active feet, bent knees. Inhale to center, exhale to the side. Let's do that a couple more times on each side. Beautiful. Release. And start to find a little shake, a lymphatic shake. Bouncing up and down. Calming the nervous system, but also allowing the immune system to get stronger. Let the shaking become as vigorous as it feels good for the body. If some sounds start to happen, let them out. Whatever sounds come. Good. Shake up the wrists. Get into the arms a bit more. Shake up the legs. And then take your fingertips to your cheeks, your jaw muscles area. Just tap around the face a little bit. Maybe open and close the jaw a couple of times to get into the jaw muscles a little. Into your temples and your forehead, even eyelids. Into your crown of the head, awakening that crown chakra a little bit more. Down into the neck, to your third eye chakra, into your throat, chest, belly, subtle taps with the fingertips. If it starts to feel better to tap harder, that means it's needed for the body. So follow that instinct. Into the hips, getting into the lower chakras. Good. And then take your time to make your way slowly into a warrior one position. I'll walk you through it. Standing at the front of the mat, shift your weight into your right leg. Before you do that, regain access to those three corners of the foot I talked about. Find that connection with the ground. Find the bend in the knee, the activation of the glutes, and shift your weight into it, reaching the left leg up. Circle ankle around a few times. And then getting into Warrior One, take your time to bend that front knee. Feel your glute engaged. Elongate the leg back. And then step back, feet hip distance. The back foot is facing about 45 degrees forward, maybe even more forward. And the front leg is stacking, the knee is stacking on top of the ankle. Now notice if when you turn your torso towards the front, if it's causing any impingement on your hip or your knee, you might need to walk your foot towards the left a little bit more. You might need to, your ankle might feel a certain discomfort. You might position the foot differently. So kind of play around with that. And then in your Warrior One, with the firmness in that front foot and the activation of the back foot into the ground, stretch the mat apart with the feet. And find some wiggling throughout the hip until you find the placement of that neutrality of the pelvis. You might even expand the left arm up because it starts to feel really nice to explore the pose, elongating throughout the hip flexor. And as you regain the neutral spine, take your arms and expand them forward and make a steeple with your index fingers as you cross the thumbs. Take a deep in-breath. And on the out-breath, take your time to bring that left arm through, caressing through the right arm and opening it all the way up as you look back. You're opening it back and then going back and forward, facing forward. And again, with a caress all the way back, look back, incorporating the neck as well. Look forward, in, and back. What sensation are you finding in your right hip as you do that? Maybe it's through your left hip. It's really all an exploration. One more time. Beautiful. Now take your way into a goddess pose and sink down into your hips while elongating the tailbone down, elongating the head upwards, the crown of the head upwards. And coming down to your degree, maybe you kind of explore up and down a few times until you find the place where the hip flexors aren't getting uncomfortable as you settle in your goddess. And then start to find some circular motions throughout the entire arms, like you're wiping something, you're cleaning cleaning your window shields or something. And switching directions. Keep maintaining that engagement of the root lock, the pelvic floor, engagement of the belly lock, hold your goalpost arms. Keep active in your feet, stretching the mat apart. Bring index finger and thumb into this beautiful mudra. Close the eyes and breathe 5 breaths. Let the burning be felt as fire of transformation. Last in-breath. Good. And now adjust the feet to prep for a wide-legged forward fold. Activate the inner thighs towards one another. Activate the feet firm. And slowly bow with a neutral pelvis as you bow. And as the hands reach the ground, let there be an opportunity for the feet to readjust their placement, for some neck rotations or some hip rocking side to side. Firmly activate the feet into the ground. Engage the pelvic floor and tilt the tailbone back slightly upwards as you elongate your arms forward, tented fingers. Feel the length in the side body. And then slowly walk your hands back. Walk your hands towards your right leg. Find a runner lunge. And release the back knee to the ground. Actually, come back into a runner lunge. I changed my mind because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. Dial the back heel down, walk your hands towards the opposite side, and come into a runner lunge. Here, allow the back knee to drop, and come on up into a standing position on your knee. Actually, this totally doesn't make a difference. I'm going to switch legs. That's how you're going to be able to see. I'm so funny. All right. Keep that right knee stacked on top of the ankle. And then reach the left arm up. Feel the stretch in the side body. And as you take a twist, cross your left wrist on top of your right thigh and activate the hand into the thigh, not allowing the right knee to go inwards. And then start to work on twisting from the mid-back. And really use the hand and the leg against one another to make that twist happen. At one point, you might walk the right foot forward slightly and kind of sink down a bit deeper to allow for a deeper twist. Maybe the forearm goes up and over the thigh, maybe the elbow. Notice how my right knee is still stacked on top of my right ankle. This doesn't feel great on my hip, so I'm going to walk my foot back. So each time you're really just exploring and seeing what feels good on your body. We want to maintain that hip alignment for a healthy twist. Good. Come back to the center. Plant both palms down on the ground and step back for a plank. And hold the plank. I'm going to hold the plank for a little bit, pressing the floor away, lengthening crown of the head forward, keeping the gaze down, squeezing your legs and your glutes. Deep breath in. On the breath out, release the knees. Keep the elbows pointing directly back. As you come all the way down to the ground, or take 5 push-ups before coming all the way down to the ground. And slowly, as you release all the way down, open your heart for a baby cobra, drawing the chest forward and up. That same squeeze we did in the upper back before when we were seated. Make that same squeeze in the shoulder blades muscles. Squeeze the legs too. And then slowly lift yourself back up. Curl the toes under and make your way back into your downward dog. And take your time to make it to the front of the mat. You'll do that maybe by walking forward or by floating forward. Maybe some hops in between, just for the fun of it. As you rise up to stand, take a deep in-breath. And out-breath, palms to heart space. And we'll prep again for Warrior One on this side. As you shift your weight into your left foot, you're going to spread the toes, find the ball of the foot. Just looking at the time. And shift your weight into balance. And make it back, elongating the leg. As you land into Warrior One, keep that knee stacked on top of the ankle. Take some time to wiggle. Find the length in the hip flexor. The right positioning of the foot. Maybe the toes are facing more forward than sideways, or vice versa. The neutrality of the pelvis, the stacking of the joints, and then the extension of the arms towards the front. Deep in breath. On the out breath, open it up to the side. Again, in and out. Notice how I'm adjusting the placement of my feet as I go. as I'm realizing what feels better for my hips. We'll do that 3 more times, in and out. Functional motions, incorporating the neck. Last time. Good. As you return to center, we'll skip the goddess pose and go straight into a wide-legged forward fold. Adjust your feet so that they're aligned. This time, instead of hugging in, see if you can plant the feet firmer into the ground and activate them apart to try this forward fold and notice the difference. Two more breaths in and out. This time you might grab a hold of your ankles to go a little deeper, or plant the fingertips underneath the feet to go a little bit deeper. And we'll walk the hands over towards the right leg. You'll stick with the same leg. I'll switch. To go into your twist. Actually, you might need to have switched legs, but if you didn't switch it on the other side, don't switch it on this side. Again, restack your joints so that your hip is on top of your knee. This online recording thing is like so different. And find that twist. Now working from the mid-back. And if you like to go a little deeper, then go a little deeper. Earlier I walked my foot forward a little because it felt better. So you could try that. But don't sink into your hip. Keep firmness and stacking of the joints. Good. As you return back to the center, make your way into some small little motions and come into all the way down to the ground. Actually, before you do that, come into table and decide if you want to do your pigeon on the right side, if you want to do it in a half pigeon, where you bring your leg forward and extend the other leg back. If this half pigeon is available to you, you come into it. If not, you take it on your back. And the way I like to come into this pigeon is that I don't like to come down right away, drop the chest down right away. It feels really good for my body to kind of explore the hip area, the glutes area. And if you have that openness in the back, then that might feel good. If you don't, it might not be available. So just kind of take care that the thigh is aligned with the edge of the mat. And when it feels appropriate, after you've done some wiggling, to drop the elbows. Maybe it always feels better to stay upright. Flex your right ankle a lot. And eventually coming to a resting position. A block under the head might feel really good. And just tune into the sound of silence, the sound of stillness. Notice the space beyond all things, holding everything. That space even holds the sky, this earth and all the galaxies and other universes. One more in breath. And slowly release out of the pose. Make it to the other side. The other side of your pigeon. Whether reclined or prone. Do any motions on this side as well. It feels a little tighter on my back on this side to stay upright too much. So that's a nice noticing. Notice what's different on your side versus the other. Some other motions might feel appropriate for me here because my body's asking for it. I'll go with it. An eventual release with the elbows on the ground, maybe the forehead resting. On this side, it feels like my forehead needs to be propped higher. So I'll go with that for a while until it wants to get down lower. And take a load off, like really. We walk around like we're supposed to know stuff and we are supposed to manage and control things. And that's really scary to the creature because deep inside it knows it's not in control. So hand over that sense of control over to something that's actually capable. Take a load off. That something is the space that holds everything. Hand yourself over to it. eventually move yourself out of the pose. And make it into one final stretch, maybe a wide-legged seated position. Or maybe you lie on your back and take a wide-legged reclined position. Notice how I'm taking my time, not just yanking myself into a deep stretch. Listening to the body for when it's ready to go deeper. Maybe a block comes under the head as well in this pose. Again, take a load off. And if this position isn't comfortable and it's not allowing you to take a load off, then make yourself comfortable. Slowly releasing out of the stretch. And find your way into a reclined position on your back with one final posture of your choice. We actually ran out of time, lovies. This 1 hour thing is tough for me. If you'd like to stay, you're welcome to stay. If you have to go, I understand. I don't know how time went so fast. Let there be a sense of surrender back to the earth. Surrender back to the space. Into the stillness, the sounds of nature. The interconnectedness between all things. You are one of those things. And you come from the same source as everything else. And what a beautiful recognition. To know that we're not separate. And just as we did at the beginning of class, find the slowness, length of the breath, but without efforting. And find your heart. And invite a softening around the heart. Like this tender heart. And I know each one of you on this call, in this class, and I know the goodness and the sweetness that's in each heart. Find that in yourself. That same sweetness is in every heart. Some people have a hard time accessing it, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So as you find compassion for yourself, also find some compassion for everyone else that's been either troubling you or you're just not getting along with nowadays, or they're just trying to figure it out just like we are. Sahana vavatu, Sahana bunaktu, Sahaviryam karavavahe, Tejasvina vaditamastu, ma vedveshavahe. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Taking your time to bring your hands on top of your chest, honoring the light of love that is ever present, honoring the lower vibrational energies, the creaturely energies that are coming up to surface to be seen and released as the light of awareness shines upon them. We close our practice together with the sound of Om, a cleansing breath. Inhale. Thank you for allowing me to teach you today. The love within me bows to the love within you. Namaste.